Sure. So Chainlink is the leading Oracle platform powering the majority of DeFi and enabling the institutional shift on-chain. We provide a number of different Oracle types: data oracles, cross-chain interoperability oracles, identity oracles. All those oracles come together to basically enable enterprise next-generation smart contracts like the one that we were lucky enough to help build together with Ian and Nelly. And they play a critical role in providing critical operations that blockchains don't do, but that advanced smart contracts require. And so far, the system has enabled over $24 trillion in transaction value.
Great. Ian?
Hi, everyone. I'm Ian. I'm at Ondo Finance. Ondo Finance is one of the leading tokenization companies. We basically put traditional assets on chain, and we also develop the services and infrastructure to make that process more seamless, more scalable, and give these assets utility on chain. We started doing that with tokenized treasuries. We are the second largest tokenized treasury company right after BlackRock. Very soon, we'll also launch tokenized stocks and ETFs, starting on mainnet Ethereum, and then expanding to Solana and BNB pretty soon.
Hi, everyone. I'm Nelly Zaltzman from Kinexys by JP Morgan. Targets collaboratively working with digital asset projects outside of JP Morgan so that we can bring some of that payments capability and liquidity on chain to complement those products.
Great, thank you.
Ultimately, one of the things that excites us at Ondo is trying to bring capital markets on chain. If you ultimately want to do that, you need a couple of things. You need actual tokenized assets, traditional financial products that make it onto crypto rails, but also seamless connectivity back into the TradFi rails, where right now a lot of these traditional assets sit. Like tokenization in and of itself is pretty easy. Anyone can deploy a smart contract on a chain that supposedly represents an asset. You keep that asset immobilized in a particular custody account, and ta-da, you've tokenized something. But the real difficulty is actually having those integrations back into the TradFi rails that do not work 24/7. They barely work 24/5. Sometimes they're 9 to 5. So ultimately, if you want to bring capital markets on chain, not only do you need to put the traditional financial assets on chain, you need to figure out a way that you can get the TradFi rails to start operating 24/7, which is where JP Morgan comes in. And you need to figure out a way that those TradFi rails that can then hopefully operate 24/7 also have seamless connectivity back into other public blockchains with those tokenized assets, which is obviously where the Chainlink comes in. We have focused on tokenizing the assets and building out infrastructure like the Ondo chain, where we can do some bells and whistles and make the integration into the TradFi rails easier to do. But obviously, we can't bring capital markets truly on chain 24/7 without the help of the TradFi institution.
We're not just creating a payment rail in a vacuum. Like most payments are in service of transactions. And so we want to make sure that we are building integrations that make sense. We are automating against activity occurring with the digital assets on a variety of chains, including public chains, and that our clients are getting the benefit of these growing capital markets, and that the capital markets, in turn, get the benefit of liquidity that our clients hold on our books. And both industries can scale because of this interaction.
I mean, for it to truly take off, I agree with everything that you said, Sergey. I think first and foremost, too, you got to get the assets on chain in the first place, right? Like, so far, the on-chain economy is all about crypto, which is great. It's fine. It's a $4 trillion asset class by now. But, public markets in the US alone are, I think, 60 to 70 trillion or something. Right. So, for it to truly scale, I think you just need to have more different types of assets on these crypto rails. Stable coins have clearly led the way in that. I think that's the first true product market fit, and the way that people now look at it is a better mousetrap for a global audience to get access to the US dollar. And is then a very logical next step to say, okay, if a tokenized dollar is very good as a distribution mechanism into these markets, tokenizing treasuries, tokenizing stocks, ETFs, and the like is a very good way to provide access to these assets to that global audience. But in order to do that at scale, which is what we're trying to do, again, you really have to solve the liquidity mismatch and the systems mismatch that exists between the on-chain economy that can operate 24/7, which is great, but the TradFi world, which cannot. And so I think it's going to take a little bit of time, truly, first and foremost, to get these assets on chain, to make sure that these assets have sufficient redemption liquidity back and forth between the on-chain and off-chain world, which is where a company like Ondo truly comes into play, and where we can shine is figuring out that liquidity mismatch. But then over time, I think the systems in TradFi will move towards 24/7 cash settlement, 24/7 securities, or 24/7 margin, 24/7 prime brokerage. Like all of those things require additional updates in the TradFi world that the companies like JP Morgan are working on, and then creating that connectivity between TradFi and the on-chain world across a wide variety of chains. That's obviously where Chainlink is building towards. But I think it first and foremost does start, just get the assets on chain and figure out the liquidity mismatch.